All right, welcome. Well, Halloween's coming, so I thought I would do something a little spooky for Halloween and give you a few little tips on how to do it. So I did a little skull with, some silhouettes of trees around it. I wanted this painting to be nice and bright, so I started out with some bright colors, white and then yellow and then some orange, making circles and circles. And the thing is, the colors that are underneath, like the white, for example, well, if I play with the spatula right there, when I dig down, I'm going to get those colors. So I want the nice bright colors in the middle. So I've made some circles, and then I'm going to just brush some poster board over it from a painting that kind of failed. And there we've got some nice textures. And I shade in the edges a little bit with some black. And now I can go in there with a paintbrush and just make some really kind of spooky, old, raggedy looking trees kind of along the edges. And I'm leaving a space in the center because I'm going to put a skull in there. So I'm just going in there and doodling some trees with some black paint. You may need to thin your paint a little bit, spray a little bit of clear in there, or I'm using water-based paint, so I spray a little bit of water in there, or a little bit of Windex, depending upon what I like to thin my paints with. Not too much. I don't want to thin it too much because I want these trees to be nice and dark, but thin enough that it will flow off the brush and make some nice thin little lines there. So I'm just doodling in some spooky looking trees along the edges. And I've come up with an idea that I'm still playing with. People ask me, they say, leave your mistakes in. So I'm showing you an idea as it evolves. So what I'm going to do here is play with something I found at a garage sale, which is a transparency film. Now, the ones that I found are made by a company called 3M, and basically it's just a clear plastic sheet. I think sometimes people use them for slideshows, or in the past they were used for like slideshows or whatever. Or you can write on them with markers. I'm not really sure what they used to do with these, but they're just called transparency film, and I found some from 3M. And it's just this box full of these transparent pieces of plastic, and I figured you could use that like copy paper, but it will make kind of a different look if you paint on it. Like I put it on top of a drawing. I found a drawing of a skull that I liked, and then I put the transparency on top, and just with my paint, I'm just going to go in there and paint the skull over the, so I'm just following the lines, and I'll put like some vines and stuff around it, so I'll add a little bit of that color around the skull to outline it. And just anywhere that something's happening, I can paint on that. And the cool thing is then I can go back in there with my palette knife, my spatula, and kind of modify it and play with it and get some different lines. So I'm like transferring my skeleton to this plastic, and then with my palette knife, anywhere that I put a little too much paint, I can create some nice sharp lines and take it off. Now this is my first go round at this, so I think I added a little bit too much liquid. I sprayed a little Windex on it to make sure it was wet, and it was a little too much, but we'll work with it, and I'll do this again, and you'll see how it evolves, how ideas evolve, so you can create your own ideas. So I pressed the painted side of that transparency onto my painting. It was a little wet, so I think next time I'll put more paint so it doesn't dry as fast, and less Windex spray on it. But anyway, I can go back in there and fill in some of the details with my paintbrush. It gives me a really nice guide, so I don't get lost. I don't have to think about what to draw. And some of the gushy stuff that happened because it was too wet is actually kind of cool shading, so I'll work with it. So I'm just going to finish drawing that skull with my paintbrush, and then I'm going to go in there with my palette knife and carve out some spots. Now, you notice on the top there's some white there, there's white underneath, so if I carve into that with my palette knife, it's going to be nice and white. Some of the other places, since I'm using water-based paint, I may never be able to get down to white. If you're using regular spray paint, you can always carve down to the white by using clear coat, but with the water-based paint, like, you can only go so far. Once you've painted a color on your paper, the first color you lay down, you really can't remove it. So I'll only be able to remove a certain amount of paint on the chin, and it's going to be a little bit more orangey. So there's like my basic skull design. I drew in a few little neck bones underneath it, maybe like a few little branches kind of branching out, little curly branches coming out of his skull. And then I'm going to go in there with my palette and my spatula and just take off some paint, maybe in his teeth, maybe his forehead, maybe some highlights on those cheekbones. Just whatever you think might be cool. You can use that palette knife to scrape off some paint and add some highlights, and it looks great. And you can also go in there with a paintbrush and some white paint and add a few little details too. Like if you want his teeth to be a little bit brighter, just a few little details with white paint there. So I'm just working with that palette knife. I notice I'm using a spray bottle because I'm using Montana Water-Based 300, so I'm actually using Windex to loosen up my paint. I don't need transparent color. I love it. No solvents. And I can go back in there with black paint too and add a few little lines like in his teeth just to make sure they're nice and defined. And I'm going to add a little bit of white paint to the teeth just to bring them out. Just a little bit, not too much. And just all these little details. You get a really whimsical, artsy looking skull that you could make, like a painting or a card or a gift or something for Halloween. And a lot of these colors that I'm using are actually glow in the dark color, so this will probably glow in the dark too if I have a fluorescent black light. And to finish it off, I put little dots of orange, little stars of orange in his eyes, and a little dot of yellow right in the center. So I hope you go try to make some skulls of your own and enjoy it. Enjoy painting some Halloween paintings. And if you want to get some lessons, go to spraypaintartsecrets.com and get our free lesson and materials list. If you have any questions, my name is Elisa Amor, and you can email me at spraypaintartsecrets@gmail.com. Ciao!